Two nations, one question. Who has the best special forces? The US or the UK? From daring missions to brutal training regimes, we're diving deep into the elite warriors who shaped the modern battlefield. You've seen their legends, now it's time to compare. Before we jump in, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe, and let us know who you think is the best. Welcome back to the war. Firstly, we'll take a look at the United States Special Forces. What if I told you there's a military unit so secret its operations are barely acknowledged, yet its impact has shaped the course of history? Meet Delta Force, an elite group of warriors that handle the missions no one else can. From daring hostage rescues to hunting the world's most dangerous terrorists, Delta Force operates in the shadows, executing missions most of us will never hear about. But what makes this unit so special? How do they recruit, train, and operate with such precision? And why are they often called the best of the best? Today, we'll uncover the untold stories of Delta Force, diving into their history, their tactics, and the myths that surround them. Welcome back to the war. Delta Force was born out of necessity. In the 1970s, the rise of international terrorism exposed glaring weaknesses in counter-terrorism strategies. The tragic Munich Olympics hostage crisis in 1972 was a tipping point. In response, Colonel Charles Beckwith, a Green Beret with experience training alongside the British SAS, proposed a radical idea: an American unit dedicated exclusively to counter-terrorism and high-stakes operations. The US Army was skeptical. Beckwith's vision was unconventional, pushing for intense physical and mental training beyond standard military norms. But he persisted, and in 1977, Delta Force was officially formed. The unit's motto, the oppressor liber, to free the oppressed. But did you know that the first Delta Force recruits had a staggering dropout rate of over 90% during selection? Only the toughest, smartest, and most adaptable soldiers made the cut. Delta's selection process is as brutal as it is secretive. Candidates face grueling physical tests, like 40-mile hikes with heavy packs, and psychological evaluations designed to push them to their limits. One of the most infamous tests is the Long Walk, a solo navigation exercise across rugged terrain. There's no cheering crowd, no clear finish line, just you, your map, and the clock. But it's not just about strength and endurance. Delta operators are expected to think on their feet, adapt to chaotic situations, and blend seamlessly in civilian environments. They're trained in everything from marksmanship to demolitions, espionage techniques, and even foreign languages. But what's the final step before joining Delta Force? Candidates undergo a secret interview where even their facial expressions are analysed. Blink too much and you might fail. Delta Force's missions are often classified, but some have become legendary. One of their earliest major operations was Operation Eagle Claw in 1980, a bold attempt to rescue 52 American hostages in Tehran. The mission ended in tragedy due to mechanical failures and a sandstorm, but it highlighted the need for better coordination in special operations, eventually leading to the creation of the US Special Operations Command. Fast forward to 1993, Delta operators played a pivotal role in the Battle of Mogadishu, depicted in the film Black Hawk Down. Their courage under fire during the 18-hour firefight saved countless lives. More recently, Delta was instrumental in the raid that killed ISIS leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. Using helicopters to infiltrate hostile territory, operators executed a near flawless mission, bringing one of the world's most wanted men to justice. Did you know Delta Force operators use customized weapons and gear tailored specifically for each mission? Nothing they carry is off the shelf. What separates a Delta operator from other special forces? It's not just skill, it's mindset. These warriors are trained to remain calm in the most chaotic situations. They're problem solvers, negotiators, and when needed, lethal precision instruments of war. One fascinating aspect is their ability to blend in. Unlike other military units, Delta operators often work undercover, disguised as locals. They've been known to use fake identities, vehicles, and even dress in civilian clothes to gather intelligence or execute missions undetected. How do they maintain such a psychological resilience? Meditation, mental conditioning, and an unbreakable bond with their teammates play a crucial role. Delta Force's secrecy has fueled numerous myths. Some say they operate with complete autonomy, answering only to the President. Others claim they've been involved in covert missions that never make the headlines. While many of these stories remain unverified, they underscore Delta's mystique. But this secrecy also draws criticism. Questions have been raised about accountability and the legality of certain missions. The truth is, we may never know the full extent of Delta Force's operations. What's the most outlandish myth about Delta Force? Some believe they're involved in extraterrestrial encounters. Delta Force isn't just a military unit, it's a symbol of excellence, adaptability, and resilience. Their operators are quiet professionals who risk everything to keep the world safe. While much of their work remains in the shadows, their impact is undeniable. So what do you think? Could you survive Delta Force selection? Let us know in the comments below and share your thoughts on whether the secrecy surrounding Delta Force is justified, or if the world deserves to know more about these shadow warriors. As we move from Delta to SEAL Team 6, it's clear that both forces share a common goal: to be the best. But their approaches couldn't be more different. Let us know in the comments what you think gives the SEALs or Delta the edge. They're America's most elite warriors, operating in the shadows, and when they strike, the world stands still. From the high seas to secret compounds in hostile territories, SEAL Team 6 has rewritten the rules of warfare. But what makes them unstoppable? Born from tragedy, forged in blood, SEAL Team 6 emerged after a devastating failure during the Iran hostage crisis in 1980. Their mission? To ensure America never faltered in such high-stakes operations again. From rescuing hostages to taking out high-value targets, their exploits have become the stuff of legend. Stick around to uncover their secrets, their triumphs, and the challenges they face in an ever-changing battlefield. Welcome back to the war. SEAL Team 6 wasn't always the juggernaut we know today. After the disastrous Operation Eagle Claw in 1980, the US government realised it needed a dedicated counter-terrorism unit. Enter Richard Marcinko, the maverick Navy SEAL who was tasked with building a team capable of handling the toughest missions. Marcinko's vision was unconventional. He handpicked warriors who not only excelled physically but also mentally. Operators who could adapt to chaotic situations in the blink of an eye. SEAL Team 6 wasn't just about brute force, it was about outsmarting the enemy. Did you know their first missions were so secret that even the Pentagon wasn't fully briefed? Keep watching to learn how this secrecy became their greatest weapon. To become a member of SEAL Team 6, you don't just pass, you survive. Selection is brutal, even by Navy SEAL standards. Candidates endure a grueling process known as Green Team, which pushes them to their absolute limits. Imagine holding your breath underwater for minutes while being physically assaulted or being dropped into freezing waters with no warning. These aren't just tests of endurance, they're tests of mindset. SEAL Team 6 operators are trained to keep their cool when most people crumble. And it's not just physical training. Did you know SEAL Team 6 operators undergo psychological profiling to identify leadership skills and split-second decision-making abilities? We'll explore how this mental edge can save lives in the field. Of all SEAL Team 6 missions, none is more famous than Operation Neptune Spear, the raid that eliminated Osama bin Laden in 2011. But here's what most people don't know. The mission was nearly called off multiple times due to intelligence uncertainties. As SEAL Team 6 helicopters flew into Pakistan that night, one chopper malfunctioned and crashed inside the compound. Despite this catastrophic start, the operators executed their mission flawlessly, neutralizing bin Laden and gathering invaluable intelligence. The crash wasn't just a logistical nightmare, it left behind something America didn't want anyone else to find. What happened next would have long-term consequences. Stick around, we'll unravel this mystery later. SEAL Team 6 doesn't just rely on skill. They're equipped with the most advanced technology available. From stealth helicopters to cutting-edge drones, their tools give them an edge over adversaries. One example is their use of suppressed firearms like the MP7, which allows them to eliminate threats silently. But even with all this tech, SEAL Team 6 emphasises adaptability. Operators train to use anything at their disposal, from captured enemy weapons to improvised tools. And have you ever wondered how they communicate during operations without being detected? Stay tuned for a look at their nearly undetectable comm systems. SEAL Team 6's success hasn't come without controversy. From the ethical implications of targeted killings to allegations of excessive force, the unit has faced its share of scrutiny. Critics argue that their clandestine nature makes oversight difficult. One of the most controversial incidents occurred during the Maersk, Alabama hijacking, where SEAL snipers killed 3 Somali pirates to rescue Captain Phillips. While hailed as a success, it sparked debates about the use of lethal force in hostage situations. And what about the helicopter from Operation Neptune Spear? To prevent sensitive technology from falling into the wrong hands, SEAL Team 6 operators used explosives to destroy most of the wreckage. But not everything could be obliterated. What remained, most notably the tail rotor, was left behind and eventually recovered by the Pakistani military. This tail features stealth technology was reportedly shared with a foreign government, raising concerns about compromised US tech. But what are the moral lines SEAL Team 6 refuses to cross? Or do they even exist? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. As warfare evolves, so does SEAL Team 6. The rise of cyber warfare, drones, and artificial intelligence presents new challenges and opportunities for this elite unit. They are already testing new technologies, including exoskeletons that enhance physical strength and endurance. The question remains, can SEAL Team 6 maintain its dominance in an increasingly complex battlefield? And what about their communication systems we mentioned earlier? During missions, SEAL Team 6 operators use encrypted comms that are almost impossible to intercept. These systems not only mask their location, but also allow real-time coordination across vast distances. But what sets them apart isn't the tech, it's their ability to adapt when tech fails. Operators are trained in hand signals, non-verbal cues, and even improvised communication methods, ensuring they can work seamlessly under any conditions. And here's one to think about for the future. Could technology eventually replace human operators? Drop your predictions in the comments below. SEAL Team 6 represents the pinnacle of human capability and determination. From their inception in the aftermath of failure to their status as a global powerhouse, they've proven time and again why they're America's tip of the spear. But with great power comes great responsibility and controversy. Their story isn't just one of triumph, it's a reflection of the complexities of modern warfare. So far, we've seen incredible feats from the US Tier 1 Special Forces, but now it's time to step up the intensity. Who really dominates when the stakes are the highest? If you're enjoying this showdown, share this video with someone who loves military history. And prepare for the British Special Forces. What makes the SAS one of the deadliest special forces in the world? For decades, their missions have been shrouded in secrecy, their tactics unmatched, and their legend unstoppable. From daring raids deep behind enemy lines to hostage rescues that shock the world, the SAS has become the gold standard of special operations. But what's the truth behind the myth? Over. Formed in the fires of World War II, the SAS has operated in nearly every major conflict involving Britain. North Africa, the jungles of Southeast Asia, the deserts of Iraq, and the mountains of Afghanistan. Today, we'll uncover how this elite force overcame impossible odds, redefined warfare, and became the shadow warriors we know today. And stick around, because there's one moment in SAS history that nearly ended their story forever. Welcome back to the war. The year is 1941. The British Army is locked in a brutal struggle against Rommel's Afrika Korps in the unforgiving sands of North Africa. David Stirling, a young and unconventional officer, hatches a plan to create a small, mobile unit capable of striking deep behind enemy lines. His idea was revolutionary, but the High Command was skeptical. The first SAS mission in November 1941 was a baptism of fire. Tasked with parachuting into enemy-held territory to destroy German aircraft, the mission was a disaster. Sandstorms disorientated the men, their explosives malfunctioned, and nearly half the team was killed or captured. But Stirling refused to give up. He adapted, switching to using jeeps for high-speed raids across the desert. By 1942, the SAS had destroyed over 250 enemy aircraft, supply depots and fuel dumps, crippling Rommel's logistics and giving the British a critical advantage. Their operations weren't just about destruction, they were about deception. The SAS planted fake mines and staged false attacks, forcing the Germans to spread their forces thin across the desert. The SAS proved that a small, agile unit could wreak havoc on a much larger enemy force. But what made these tactics so revolutionary? It wasn't just their audacity, it was the precision of the planning. By 1944, the SAS was operating in a very different environment. The dense forests and towns of Nazi-occupied Europe. As part of Operation Overlord, SAS teams parachuted into France ahead of the D-Day landings. Their mission: sabotage German supply lines, ambush reinforcements, and support local resistance fighters. One legendary operation was Operation Leuthen. SAS teams infiltrated deep into the Vosges mountains to disrupt German troop movements. But as the mission dragged on, they found themselves hunted by overwhelming enemy forces. Cut off and low on supplies, they resorted to guerrilla tactics, striking swiftly and disappearing into the forest. But not everyone made it out. Nearly half the unit was killed or captured. Some were executed by the Gestapo, a chilling reminder of the risks these men faced. The SAS efforts during the liberation of Europe proved their value once again. They had tied down thousands of German troops, preventing them from reinforcing Normandy during the critical first days of the invasion. After World War II, the SAS was disbanded, with many believing their role was no longer needed. But by the late 1940s, communist insurgencies were spreading across British Empire. In Malaya, the SAS was revived to fight a new kind of war: jungle warfare. Operating in four-man teams, they tracked insurgents through the dense rainforest, often surviving on minimal supplies for weeks at a time. Their tactics were ruthless but effective, ambushing enemy camps, cutting off supply lines, and gathering intelligence. The SAS wasn't just deployed in Malaya. They later applied these same skills in Borneo during the Indonesian confrontation and in Oman during the Dhofar rebellion. Each mission refined their expertise in unconventional warfare, but it was in Oman that the SAS faced one of their toughest battles, storming the Jebel Akhdar, a rebel stronghold perched on a near vertical cliff. How did they pull it off? One moment cemented the SAS in the public consciousness: the Iranian embassy siege in 1980. When armed militants stormed the embassy in London, the world watched as hostages were taken. After days of tense negotiations, the SAS were called in. What followed was textbook counter-terrorism operation. In a matter of minutes, black-clad operators smashed through the windows, detonated stun grenades, and neutralised the terrorists with surgical precision. The operation was broadcast live, shocking audiences worldwide. What made the SAS so effective was their ability to adapt their training to urban environments. From jungle warfare to counter-terrorism, they showed they could handle any situation. The SAS have been deployed in nearly every major conflict involving Britain since World War II. In Northern Ireland, they conducted covert surveillance and counterinsurgency during the Troubles. In the Falklands War, operating behind enemy lines to sabotage Argentine forces and gather intelligence. In the Gulf War, hunting Scud missile launchers deep in the Iraqi desert during Operation Desert Storm. And later on, in Afghanistan and Iraq, leading raids, capturing high-value targets and training local forces. Which modern war do you think posed the greatest challenge for the SAS? Let us know in the comments. The SAS selection process is legendary for its intensity. Candidates endure weeks of physical and mental challenges, including a 40-mile march with a heavy pack and brutal survival phase where they're hunted by instructors. But the real secret to the SAS's success isn't just their training, it's their mindset. Who dares wins isn't just a motto, it's a philosophy. SAS operators are taught to think independently, adapt on the fly, and never give up, no matter how impossible the odds. And yet, despite their success, the SAS remains one of the most secretive units in the world. Why? The answer lies in their mission. They don't just fight wars, they prevent them. From the deserts of North Africa to the mountains of Afghanistan, the SAS has proved time and time again that a small, highly trained force can change the course of history. Their legacy is one of innovation, bravery, and a relentless drive to succeed against all odds. What do you think is the most impressive operation in SAS history? We've covered the tactics and the training, but the real question is, how do they fare when the pressure is on? If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any more comparisons like this. Now, the SBS. They call them the silent professionals, Britain's secret answer to the Navy SEALs. But what makes the SBS, the Special Boat Service, the most feared Tier 1 unit you've never heard of? It's not just about stealth, it's their audacity. From underwater sabotage to high-stakes hostage rescues, Their stories rival the best spy thrillers. Born in the chaos of World War II, the SBS operates in the shadows, where the stakes are life and death. But why are they so secretive, and what separates them from their more famous cousins, the SAS? Today, we dive into the untold history, mind-blowing missions, and cutting-edge tactics of these modern-day ghost warriors. Welcome back to the war. To understand the SBS, we have to travel back to 1940. With Nazi forces dominating Europe, Britain needed a way to fight back from the sea. Enter Roger Courtney, a Royal Marine with a daring idea. Small teams of commandos using canoes to infiltrate enemy harbours. Laughed at by his superiors, Courtney decided to prove them wrong. In a now famous stunt, he paddled a canoe into British destroyers' heavily guarded anchorage, planted fake explosives, and escaped undetected. That single act of audacity birthed the SBS. But their first official mission, it's straight out of a movie. A daring raid on an enemy airfield in Crete. Spoiler alert, it didn't go as planned, but it taught them the ruthless efficiency they're now known for. After World War II, the SBS evolved into one of the most elite maritime special forces in the world. But here's the twist. For decades, they played second fiddle to the SAS. The SAS grabbed the headlines, while the SBS stayed in the shadows. But why? Their missions were so covert, they couldn't be acknowledged. In fact, even today, only about 10% of what the SBS does ever sees the light of day. So if you think you know their most daring missions, think again. We're just scratching the surface. Becoming SBS isn't just difficult, it's borderline impossible. As both the SAS and SBS do the same selection process, 3 stages: the hills, the jungle, and escape and evasion. Both regiments then move on to continuation training. For the SBS, it's the final test, which includes the infamous swim to death, a grueling underwater navigation exercise where failure means elimination. If you manage to pass, you then move to a troop for probation. And what's your take on this level of training? Could you push your body and mind to these extremes? Let us know in the comments. The SBS doesn't just train for war, they redefine it. Take Operation Barras in Sierra Leone, where SBS operators worked alongside the SAS to rescue hostages held by brutal rebels. The result? A flawless mission that saved lives and showcased their surgical precision. But it's not just hostage rescues. Ever heard of their role in the Falklands War? While the SAS made headlines, the SBS carried out secret recon missions, planting the seeds for victory in one of the most unlikely British military successes. Don't forget to check out our video on the Falklands War. Fast forward to today, and the SBS remains the cutting edge of counter-terrorism, surveillance, and amphibious warfare. Equipped with state-of-the-art tech like stealth submersibles and UAVs, they specialise in operations no one else can handle. Remember the oil tanker hijacking off the UK coast in 2020? That was an SBS takedown in under 9 minutes. No casualties, no headlines, just pure professionalism. But how does a unit stay so effective in a world where technology constantly evolves? The answer lies in their relentless pursuit of innovation and something even deeper, their brotherhood. So, what truly sets the SBS apart? It's not just their tactics or technology, it's their ethos. The motto, by strength and by guile. Whether it's infiltrating an enemy compound in silence or adapting to the harshest environments on Earth, their ingenuity is unmatched. Unlike most forces, they're trained to think like insurgents, turning unconventional warfare into an art form. And what do you think is more important for Special Forces units? Raw strength or strategic cunning? Drop your thoughts below. The SBS isn't just a unit, it's a legacy of courage, innovation, and sacrifice. From their World War II origins to their current role as the silent guardians of Britain's security, they've proven time and again that the shadows are where the real warriors thrive. As threats evolve, so does the SBS, ensuring that wherever danger lurks, they'll be there, unseen but unstoppable. And just a closing thought, with the rise of AI, drones, and cyber warfare, will the SBS remain as dominant in the 21st century? That's a question only time and the enemy will answer. Two nations, two elite forces, and one burning question. Who comes out on top? The truth is, the answer lies in the battlefield and the mission. But we want to hear from you. Who do you think has the ultimate edge? The UK or the US? Hi soldiers, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to check back in again soon. That's an order.